Hey everyone! In our previous video, we've looked at how our JavaScript code is linked to our HTML code. And we've also looked at how we can resize our game container. In this video, we're gonna take a look at how we can start to draw simple shapes into our game container. So let's get going. First, we need to know a little about coordinates to be able to place objects onto the screen. Let's pretend that this rectangle is our game container. We know that it has a width and a height. Let's say that our container is 600 width by 400 height. And we'd like to place some objects onto it. Let's take a look at one object. We want to tell our code where on the screen to place this object. So how do we do this? For this, we need the X and the Y axes. X is horizontal and Y is vertical. We count coordinates from the top left corner. X starts at 0 on the left and ends at 600 to the right. Y starts at 0 at the top and ends at 400 at the bottom. Knowing that, we could figure out what coordinates the corners of our container are. So going back to the character object, we need to figure out what coordinates we need to tell our code. Our object is an image, so it actually is a rectangle with transparent pixels. A transparent pixel just means that the pixel is clear or see-through. Our graphics library by default is looking for the top left corner of the image. So the current coordinates might look something like this. Later, I'll show you how to change the default behavior to reference the center of an image. For now, let's get back to our coding environment. Now that we have some understanding of what the coordinates are, we can go ahead and start by going into our draw function and adding a shape. So here's our draw function. And where we want to place the code is right below the background. So here, our first shape function that we are going to call is rect for rectangle. And the first value that it's going to ask for is the X and the Y coordinates. So let's give it a value of 50X and 50Y. And the second set is going to be the width and the height. So let's just give it 60 and say 120. There we go. And run this. So here we get at the coordinate 50x and 50y, we have a rectangle of width 60 and height 120. So that's how we draw our rect function. And next we'll look at another shape, ellipse. Basically, ellipse is a circle, but I'll show you. We'll give it the same x and the y coordinates, and we'll give it say 60 as the size. Notice I only wrote one value here. I didn't put width and the height. So for circle, you notice it by default draws starting the center, whereas the rect function draws from the top left corner. So here in our circle, if we want to make it an oval, we could give it another value here, and it's optional. But this is what it looks like. So it gives it a height of 120 and a width of 60, same as this rectangle, but only this oval is offsetted. So let's move this over. Get a better look at it. There we are. And now I want to draw the rectangle starting the center as the coordinate point. So the way we do that is rect mode, center. And when we run it, see, now they're both being drawn from the center. So there you have it for the shapes. And I also want to show you that when you go to P5JS website, here in the reference section, you'll find shapes down here, and you'll see ellipse here, and you'll see the rect, and you also see circle and square. So these are specific functions. If you just want a circle, you can use the circle, but I tend to use ellipse for every circly things. And rect also has a square equivalent, but this only draws square, whereas the rect could also do squares, but it could also do other rectangle shapes. So I tend to use this more. But you can go ahead and click around in here and try some other functions out for yourself. Let's take a look at this rect reference section. And the first example, we see how we implemented it in our code. We have the x value, y value, and the width and the height. But on the second example, we see rounded corners. And we also see in the code here that it has this fifth value. So there are more variants, but you can go ahead and read through the reference and figure out what more you can do. So I'll leave you with that today. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.